Just moments ago, the New York Times revealed that President Trump had already been briefed on a whistleblower's complaint, the whistleblower's complaint, about his dealings with Ukraine when he unfroze the military aid for the country in September. That means that Trump was well aware that he was being accused of wrongdoing when he released the aid and when he denied a quid pro quo to Ambassador Sondland. Let me go to Ashley Park on this. Ashley, this is a Times story, but what does this mean?
I mean, it just adds another detail to this rapidly unfolding story. But it's that one thing the White House and the president's allies have always said is that there's nothing untoward. There's no quid pro quo because the president ultimately released the aid. This now shows perhaps that the reason he released the aid was because he knew he was in trouble. He knew there was a whistleblower complaint coming. And that is what prompted him. And it wasn't quite the picture they're painting that he put a hold on the aid, but of course he was always going to release it. It doesn't mean that is why, but it certainly raises the very plausible question that he had to be prompted by a whistleblower complaint in a congressional investigation.
Ned, this is the argument made by the Democrats on the House Intel Committee. He was caught.
He was caught.
That's why he gave back the money.
It's as simple as that. And I think there was a confluence of these two things that Trump knew he was going to be in a political vice, if not a legal vice. It was news of this whistleblower complaint. And I often think we forget this, but Congress put these data points, some of these data points at least, together itself. And on September 9th, announced the start of an investigation into Giuliani's meddling in Ukraine, tied in with the whole withholding of this aid. They didn't know all that we know now, but it's clear that they were at least onto pieces of this. But this is really a pattern we've seen throughout this administration, Chris. They don't act until they're caught. Remember Mike Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor? He wasn't fired until he was caught by the Washington Post in his lies after 24 days. Same with Stormy Daniels. Trump at first denied it, and then he was caught. And ultimately, his lawyer fessed up, and then they fessed up on FEC paperwork. And now we're seeing it with this. It's a pattern that has played out time and again in this administration.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.